All right, we're live. Hi, folks. I'm Chuck Holton, and I'm in Israel, in Jerusalem. You can see it's nice, beautiful sunset behind me. It has been an interesting day, as most of them have been lately. And so I just wanted to do a quick update on what's going on, because the big question on everybody's mind is, are we going to go to war tonight? Is Israel ready to kick off the operation in Gaza tonight? That's been the question for the last several days, and a lot of people have been asking, well, what's taking them so long? Why are people, why is the IDF waiting so long to go in? And so today I went down south to Sderot, and to let's just say an undisclosed location along the border, where I got a chance to talk to somebody from a special unit of the Israeli Defense Forces who will be shortly clearing out tunnels in Gaza. So now I'm going to just speak for a few minutes here, and then I'm going to take questions. And so if you have questions, save them for just the next 10 minutes, and then you can ask your questions, and I'll go through and answer as many of them as I can in the time that I have here. Okay, I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. Just adjust my camera a little bit here. So today is Friday, and actually sunset on Friday in Jerusalem means the beginning of Shabbat. And so the question was, would the IDF start a major war on the Sabbath? Well, that was the question I had today. And the answers I got were pretty much consistent, that the IDF is going to start the war when they're going to start the operation into Gaza when they feel like the time is right. Now, the attack on October 7th happened on Shabbat, and last Saturday they made a lot of special exceptions for the normal procedures that are followed during Shabbat here in Israel. So that's going to be, I mean, the reason that that Hamas attacked Israel on Shabbat was because it's a down day. It's a day when hopefully they would be sleeping or resting, and indeed they were. But they also, that works both ways. Hamas may say, there's no way Israel would start this thing on Shabbat, and so we can rest on Saturday or continue our preparations. But maybe that's how Israel surprises Hamas. I will just say this. What Israel is about to undertake is a massive combined arms operation. It is going to be big. I can tell that from the number of troops, the number of tanks, the number of everything that are going around here, and that's no secret. They've put out the numbers. And having called up almost 500,000 troops, and having had more troops show up than they called up, they don't have people going AWOL. They have people busting down the doors and lining up around the block to get into the IDF so that they can fight for their country. They have people coming back from all over the world. When you go to the airport here, it is amazing to see all the young 20-somethings coming in with their little backpacks that have been out on their gap year, and they are out there. They're coming back to put on a uniform and go fight for their country. Everyone that we talk to has pretty much the same message for Hamas. We are coming. You've made this decision. We didn't want a war, but you chose it. You started it, and we will finish it. You surprised us, but you will not beat us. That's what the soldiers of the IDF are saying that I spoke to today. Now, the guy that I talked to today, one particular soldier, was a master sergeant with 17 years of experience. He's a decorated combat veteran already. And he's a part of a special engineering unit that will be going into the tunnels and clearing out the tunnels in Gaza. As if you've been following this, you know that there are about 300 miles of tunnels under Gaza, under the Gaza Strip, which is about the size of Philadelphia. And that's a very difficult problem to handle, specifically, especially because there are all of these hostages. Many of them are probably in those tunnels, and so you can't just gas the tunnels or something like that, pump seawater in there and try to flood them out. Those are things that were doubtlessly thought of when the tunnels were constructed over years, and so this is going to be a serious logistical and strategic and tactical problem to go into these tunnels. So I won't share all of what this soldier, this Master Sergeant said that I talked to, because I want you to go watch CBN and watch the product and the packages that we'll make from his interview so that you can see for yourself. You can hear him with your own ears, see him with your own eyes, saying what their plans are, more or less, for this invasion. He understands how dangerous and difficult this is. He's been doing it for a long time. Israel has some special technology and weapons and things like that that they will use in these tunnels. But no matter what, it's going to be a very, very difficult fight. So if you're wondering, you know, well, why is it taking them so long to strike back? Understand that they are striking back. They are striking literally hundreds of blows a day against Hamas in the Gaza Strip from the air. And the more they do that, the more it sort of softens up the targets for the infantry and armor that will eventually go in there. To put together a combined arms attack like they are about to do, there's so many moving parts. Think about that. Somebody's got to figure out where the targets are. What targets do you hit? You can't just bomb everything. So what are you going to hit? And where are the most strategic targets? How do you prioritize those targets to make the most impact and safeguard your troops? How do you gather that information? What are you going to do as far as communications is concerned? What kind of logistics are you going to have to put in place to keep those troops resupplied with food, fuel, and ammunition? These are the kinds of things that Russia did not do well at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, and it led to them failing in all of their objectives when it came to the invasion of Ukraine. And so these things are very, very important. Israel is coming from not quite a standing start, meaning when the attack of October 7th happened, it's not like they didn't have any plans in case they ever had to go into Gaza. They certainly had plans, but not on this scale. And so to put together an attack on this scale with this many people, to try to do it safely with 200 hostages to worry about and civilians in the mix, is a massively complex operation. And so the longer it takes for Israel to kick off the operation, undoubtedly the safer the operation will be for the Israeli citizens and for the civilians in Gaza, and the more effective it will be. So it's like taking, you know that old adage of sharpening your axe. The more time you spend sharpening your axe, the less time you will have to spend chopping with it. And that's what Israel is doing now. They're sharpening their axe, and they're trying to get all of their assets in place, lining up their team on the battlefield, so to speak. And then they're going to, when they hit, it's going to be big. It could go tonight. It could be after the weekend. It could be another week. Like I say, the longer it takes, the safer and the quicker, most likely, the operation will be. But, you know, there are always those political ramifications. I've talked, if you've been watching some of these lives that I've done over the last several days, you probably can remember me talking about how perception equals reality in many cases when it comes to wars like this. Having covered wars and disasters for 2 decades, I can tell you that more and more these days, perception becomes reality. So what you as a public believe about the war has a direct impact on how the war goes. It has a direct impact on even the kinetic battle space, on how the battles are fought and won. Because, for example, with Ukraine, as the American public has lost interest or gotten tired of supporting Ukraine, it's become more and more difficult for Ukraine to make progress against Russia, although they're still doing actually a pretty good job. But Russia has been focusing its efforts not so much on the physical battlefield, but on the cyber battlefield, in the social media space and the information battle space, to try to sway public opinion against Ukraine. And if your public opinion, if that's you, if your opinion has been swayed against Ukraine, there is a very good chance that it has been, that the reason your public opinion has been swayed against Ukraine has at least something to do, a little bit to do, with Russian propaganda efforts in the United States. They have done the only thing they've done very well in this war is, I'm talking the war in Ukraine, is they have swayed the American public's perception of Ukraine, and away from the fact that a bunch of innocent people are being murdered in Ukraine every day. I say all that from Jerusalem because it's sort of interesting to me that politically some of the same people who are vehemently against helping Ukraine defeat Russia, because whatever, are the same people who are vehemently for helping Israel defeat Hamas. Maybe because Hamas is easier to understand as an evil adversary. But I will just tell you, having been on the ground in both cases, that the results of the attacks from Russia in Ukraine and the results from the attack of Hamas in Israel look very, very much the same. And personally, I try to just look at it from a moral point of view and not from a political point of view. I hope that makes me a better journalist. I hope that makes me better at bringing you the actual truth of what's happening, because I'm trying very hard not to look at it through a political lens. That is easier for me because I no longer live in the United States full time. I live in Panama. And so I've gotten to the point after 10 years living in Panama that I sort of see American politics from the outside in. And I spend so much more time in war zones like this than I do in the United States, that I get a better sense, I feel like, of the truth on the ground here in the war zone. So, very quickly, like I said, what we are seeing today is more shaping operations in Gaza, meaning Israel is pounding Gaza. We have still seen dozens of attacks by Hamas, rocket attacks into Israel. And one thing that has changed is that the severity and frequency of attacks in the north is really ramping up. And that's the place where, when this thing kicks off, I am coming to sincerely believe that we will see a two-front war, that there will be a big battle in the north at the same time there's a big battle in the south. Now, I don't typically want to make predictions, because there are just 1,000 reasons why things could change in an instant that nobody can plan for. But I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on the ground. Hezbollah is ramping up its attacks on Israel from the north, from dozens to, let's say tens to maybe 50 or 60 or 70 in the last day. I'm talking rockets, incursion attempts, shooting attacks across the border, and more things like that. The IDF, or the Israeli government, has decided to evacuate Kiryat Shimona, which is a town of about 20,000 people up in that little point that goes into Lebanon. I was just in Kiryat Shimona, I don't know, 3 days ago, I guess, and we stayed the night up there, and the town was pretty much empty anyway, but the Israeli government has, when we say that they've authorized evacuation of a place, that doesn't mean that the people couldn't evacuate if they wanted to. It just means that the government will provide support, financial support, for people who want to evacuate, who can't afford a hotel or don't have someplace else to go. And so that brings, now there's about 250,000 people, probably a little more than that, across Israel who have been displaced from their homes in the north and in the south because of this conflict, meaning they've had to evacuate the border areas because the fighting's just gotten too bad. That area went from 2 kilometers to 4 kilometers to 5 kilometers, and now Kiryat Shimona is, you know, if they evacuate that whole place, that's quite a bit more than that. And so things are definitely ramping up in the north. When the ground operation in Gaza kicks off in the south, I would say there's a very, very good chance that there will be a big battle in the north as well. Part of the reason I say that is because the Hezbollah has said it will happen, Iran has said it will happen, and I believe that if your adversary says he's going to do something to you and he has the ability to do so, I think you should believe him. You should take him seriously. In the case of the north, there is also this group called the Hashishabi, who are a Shiite militia from Iraq. They are supported by Iran. You know, Iran is Shiite. A lot of the northern part of Iraq is Sunni, but during the fight against ISIS, ISIS was Sunni. Iran, everybody hated ISIS, and so Iran actually supported these Shiite militias to form them in Iraq that fought against ISIS. And I've been like literally this far away from those guys in Iraq, and they were bad people. They were bad dudes. Not the kind of people you want to hang around with. They have also been fighting a lot in Syria, and I got word, I saw someplace that 1,000 Hashishabi fighters have crossed from Syria into Lebanon with the intent of coming down to the Israeli border and invading Israel when the operation in the south kicks off. So that is a quick update on what we did today. Went down to Sderot and spent most of the day there. Now we're back in Jerusalem. We come back to this place in Jerusalem. We're at an Airbnb here right across from our CBN studios, which are in that building right down there. We do that because it's only an hour or so drive down to the south, and there's good internet here. We've had very few air raid alerts and things where we have to run for the shelters here in Jerusalem, although there was one off that direction tonight. And so, you know, it's just a more convenient place to base out of. But in the morning, we jock up, put on our body armor, and head down to the war zone, and then come back here at night. That makes it a little bit of a challenge to, you know, eat sometimes because we've been pretty busy. But we are committed to bringing you the best, to doing the best we can to bring you the truth of what's happening on the ground. Now, I've seen there's been a lot of comments, but I haven't been reading them because I can't do 2 things at once. I'm not that talented. So I'm going to put on my glasses now, and we are going to take some questions. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, end the war, great. Okay, who's got questions? Let's bring some questions up. Everybody's saying end the war. Yeah, yeah. So the only way to end a war is to win it. Christian, the only way to end a war is to win the war. You can stop fighting, but if the enemy hasn't stopped fighting, that's called losing the war. You don't just end the war by stopping fighting on your side if the enemy is not done yet. Is the offensive soon or weeks away? That's what this whole thing has been about, this video. I can't say, and if I could say, I wouldn't be able to tell you because it would jeopardize the operational security of the IDF. You understand the operational security, how that works, right? We can't tell bad people things they don't need to know. And so as a journalist, I have to be very careful about, for example, showing live troop movements or talking about troop strength in any specific way or troop locations in any specific way. I have to be very general about things. I can say, hey, Israel's called up, they've got about 500,000 troops now. That's been put out by the IDF. But what I can't say is when the war is going to start, and besides, they wouldn't tell me if I wanted them to. They better evacuate. Do you think they're pausing before... Oh, you're going too fast here. They go in because a bigger attack throughout the region may occur. I think they are sure that a bigger attack will occur throughout the region, and they are, believe me, they are piling up forces on all their borders. They are prepared. The general mood here, people are going about their business, but they are grim, let's say. Grim. Not carrying a gas mask, no, I am not. So I'm going to see what other... There are a lot of deceived people out there, that's for sure. Yes, please pray. Please pray for Israel. Pray for the civilians. Pray for the people who are innocent. And pray that God would thwart the plans of evil men. What does the Iron Dome protect from? That's a very good question. I can answer that one. The Iron Dome protects from missiles and rockets. So you understand, among all of the things that Hamas could throw at Israel, there are mortars, artillery, missiles, and rockets. Missiles and rockets fly a long distance and are usually powered in some way, rocket propelled or something like that. Drones are another one, I guess, that have an engine on them and have a long range. They can go some distance. The rockets and those sorts of things, when they launch one of those, the Iron Dome system is very, very good at precisely finding those rockets, seeing them take off through radar, and then calculating their trajectory, their distance, their, everything, and figuring out about where they're going to land. If they are going to land in a populated area where they could hurt somebody, the Iron Dome system then locks on to that missile and fires a small missile of its own and shoots it down. That missile costs about $50,000 each. So they don't, if they see that the rocket or missile that Hamas fired is not going to land in a built-up area, it's going to land out in the desert someplace, they don't shoot at it. They just let it go, which is actually very smart. But they also have other kinds of things besides the Iron Dome system, like they have American Patriot batteries, which do similar things. They have something called David Sling, and they have this iron beam. There's new technology that shoots them out of the sky with a laser. I kid you not. It looks just like Star Wars. It's pretty amazing. And instead of $50,000 a shot, it's like $2,000 a shot. And I'm sorry, $2 a shot. And so they need to put those all over the place. Those things are going to take over the military, I think, if they work as advertised. Okay, let's see if anybody else has a quick question. What are the troops' thoughts when it comes to... I can't... Let's see. Could this become the Gog and Magog war? Well, I'm here to report on what's going on and talk about the things that I am an expert at. Those have to do with military and that sort of thing. I will tell you my opinion on the end times controversy. Whether or not this is the end times. I mean, this particular conflict figures into prophecy. I'll just say it feels like it. It feels like it figures into prophecy. It feels prophetic here. It feels like things are being, worked out. But the bottom line is, if you read the book right before Revelation, the book of Jude, the message that I take away from that very short book is simply this. Don't worry about all of the wherefores and what ifs about the end times. What you're about to read in Revelation is a symbolic representation of how the end will come. But don't worry about that. What you should be worried about as a believer is yanking people out of the fire. This world is a burning building that it won't be put out. That conflagration is going to take this building down. This world is going to burn down, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But what you can do is rescue people out of the fire. And so that's what I'd like to focus my efforts on, is saving people out of the fire. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your kind words, everybody. What about the security in other states, nations? Wow, we're getting a lot of comments here. How long will it take to get all the Muslims out of Israel? Wow, there's a question for you. That is not going to happen. They're not going to get all the Muslims out of Israel because about 20% of Israelis are Muslim. Did you know that? Did you know like 18% of all the people in Israel are Muslim? And only like 1.6% of the people in Israel are Christians? Muslims live all over Israel. You can see them everywhere you go. And the vast majority of the Muslims who live in Israel get along with the Jewish Israelis, work side by side with them. They've got Muslim Israelis in the IDF that are preparing to go fight Hamas right now. People think that Israel is only full of Jews, but that's not true. The Muslims that live here are welcome here. They are not persecuted in any way, shape, or form. They are full citizens. And the vast majority of them live very well and do fine. Now, that is a big surprise to many people. But we're not talking anything about nobody's saying anything about kicking the Muslims out of Israel. What I would love to do is see them all get saved, and we could have 20% of the people in Israel be Christians or more. But that's my prayer. My prayer is that the people of Israel, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, will cry out to God, beg for peace, will love their children more than they hate each other, and that this conflict will very quickly end. I'm praying that God will thwart the plans of evil men. It's not my job to determine who's evil and who's not. I'm just going to ask God to thwart the plans of evil men. And I believe as Christians we should be praying for the innocents, doing what we can to ease their suffering, contributing where we can to help. And I'll just end on this. As a journalist doing this job, going to war zones around the world for so many years, it gets depressing, as you can imagine, because I spend my time in places where all these terrible things are happening all the time. And back in the beginning of my career, I realized that it was wearing on me. I think I was in Congo or someplace, and I just saw this pile of dead babies outside of a refugee camp, and it just killed me. I just couldn't take it. And I thought, God, I can't fix this. Like, what am I doing here? Like, the problem is so big, I just can't fix it. Like, even if I help one of these kids, it's a drop in the bucket. What do I do? I can't keep doing this. And the word that I got from the Lord, just quietly in my spirit, was that I can tell their story. And if I tell their story, then you can help them. The world can help them. And I don't have billions of dollars, but as Christians, as the body of Christ around the world, we have trillions of dollars. And we can do something to help when people are hurting. So I encourage you to join with what God wants us to do, and that is help the people who need helping. Do that by finding somebody that is helping in an area you feel led to help, and donate and give. Americans are the most generous people group on the planet, bar none. But that the amount that Americans give has been declining precipitously over the past 5 or 10 years. We have been becoming much less generous as a people group, American conservative Christians. And that's a shame. We shouldn't be. If you feel so led, CBN is donor funded. This broadcast that you're watching right now is funded by donors. We've got a team over here, and that's expensive. We do everything we can to stretch those dollars and to use them in the best possible way, but we still have to pay the bills too. So if you'd like to donate to CBN, you can go to cbn.com and find out how to do that. If you'd like to follow my work, where I go, look at the stuff that I do on my own YouTube page, where I share more of just my opinions about things, you can go to the Hot Zone on YouTube. I will probably pin the Hot Zone in the comments here so that you can click on that link and go follow my own YouTube page. You can go to chuckholton.locals.com if you want to see the rest of my content, the documentaries that I produce, the books that I write, all of that kind of stuff goes over there. But most of all, please keep watching here on cbn.com and on the YouTube page, CBN's YouTube page, because we are working very hard, long days. I'm talking about 20-hour days over here to try to bring you the news about what's happening here in Israel. And we're going to keep at it until it's over. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you, folks. Take care.